Well, this is our destination. Genetic engineering superhumans by manipulating DNA, designing or improving ourselves to be stronger, faster, fitter, and disease-free. In the future, this will totally change life as we know it. And our journey to it has already happened. I'll show you how. Here's where we start, with a cup of coffee. Almost 300 years ago, here in Leipzig, Germany, Zimmermann's Cafe is the hottest place in town. A place where men go to discuss the topics of the day, maybe over a game of billiards. Or you could meet a prostitute masquerading as a waitress. Or above all, you could indulge in the drug du jour, a few cups of coffee. Perhaps I mean mania rather than indulgence. There are hundreds of places like Zimmermann's all over Europe. Coffee is a total craze. Fact is, before coffee arrives in Europe, most people back then spend their time slightly drunk all day. So coffee and the customer's newfound sobriety means coffee houses become places to refresh your mind. You want to invest your money? You go to a coffee house. You want to talk about reason and philosophy rather than religion and belief, and in this way help kick off the Enlightenment, you go to a coffee house. And this is also where the idea of daily newspapers start. That's because you drink coffee and share all the news or information you have. If your gossip is the latest goings-on, you end up printing it as a newspaper. If that gossip is about companies or foreign money, after a while your gossip exchange formalizes into stocks or insurance contracts. And by mid-17th century in London, coffee houses trigger the start of the credit, insurance, and stock markets.
Oh, insurance on its return is amazing.
One of the other things that singles out Zimmermann's back in Leipzig is that in 1723, it's also the site of regular concerts and operas put on by the local town composers and musicians. One composer, he's also the local church music master, is a guy by the name of Johann Sebastian Bach, who comes up with a piece for Zimmermann's and what people go there to do, known as the Coffee Cantata. The piece is all about the perils of coffee drinking. Is it an addiction or not? Dangerous or safe? Coffee houses also host political debate, the lottery, and even public lessons in chess, philosophy, astronomy, and mathematics. And over time, coffee houses affect the education system when they become the place to go if you can't get to higher levels of learning. So they become known, because of the price of a cup of coffee, as penny universities. By 1776, the coffee craze in the German kingdom of Prussia is starting to hurt the local economy. Nobody's buying the country's beer or wine anymore. And a ton of money is leaving the country to pay for coffee imports because Prussia doesn't have any coffee-growing colonies. So there's a coffee balance of payments problem looking for a solution. So the king, here he is, Frederick the Great, who drinks 8 cups of coffee a day, makes coffee selling illegal without a license, which he then hands out to his mates, the members of the church and the aristocrats. And he sets up a coffee police force, 400 disabled ex-soldiers whose job it is to go around sniffing out coffee roasting premises, close them down, and slap on fines. Of course, thanks to the sheer number of coffee smugglers and secret drinkers, this effort fails. So in 1787, Fred drops the ban and instead, no fool, taxes coffee imports. In his posh new Berlin palace, which he calls Sans Souci, it means no worries, Frederick the Great does a few other things that will change the future. He's the man who modernizes the nation state. Freedom of speech, no more torture. elected bureaucrats, agricultural reforms, and the one we all love, he imposes a sales tax. He spends the rest of his time fighting and winning wars with everybody in sight to consolidate and expand his domain, and invites big brains like Voltaire to come and do meaningful chat. No wonder Fred is called the Philosopher King. One last note. He also composes music and plays the flute, for which he writes 121 sonatas, no less. Pretty good all that when you're running a country and fighting wars at the same time, right? Try one of his tunes. Okay, here is where we move on to the next step on our journey towards designing superhumans. See, in 1738, another flute player hits the scene and soon gets Frederick's attention. A flute player who can do anything Frederick can do, if not better. Quite a claim, seeing that this flute player isn't human, but a machine the size of a human, called, wait for it, the flute player. How does it work, you might ask? Basic control mechanism, common enough at the time, a cylinder with pegs on it, so that as the cylinder revolves, driven round by a hanging weight, each peg hits a lever and triggers one or other mechanical action. These actions include opening and closing 3 sets of bellows to send different air pressure through the mouth to make the flute produce different notes, and a series of levers and pulleys to move the lips. Same for fingers, all to the most exact precision. Its creator, Jacques de Vaucanson, also builds a mechanical tambourine player and, more impressive, an automated duck.